Look at that. Chris and I wait for our live hit on NBC News, nightly news there. So.
That's great.
Two guys from Jersey, nothing like that on a podcast conversation. So I think we've invented a format, Chris. You and I.
This is it. We did it.
Two guys from Jersey have never done a podcast together before. So maybe not on the box office. We may be the first two doing it about that. Unless you want to get into the UFC rights, but Wake Up readers can get my thoughts there elsewhere. So anyway, hey everybody, see people filling in here. As you can tell, Mr. Rushfield is sunning himself somewhere gloriously in the world, so he is not joining today here at the Money Quarterbacks. But we do have my other partner in crime here, Chris Rosen, a podcast, a Prestige Junkie podcast fame, of course.
Yes.
We can dive into a little early for fall movies at this point. So we're not quite there yet.
Not yet.
All right. You're going to Telluride, or you're there? No?
I am going to Telluride.
You're going to
great.
I am jealous of that. That's a trip that not the cheapest
cool.
trips, but it's not. Everybody who goes says it's worth it, and they love it. So
cool.
I'll be very jealous. If you're going to Telluride, hit Chris up, and Tiff as well, I guess.
Oh yeah, sure.
Toronto, Colorado, etc. So, but we're here to talk box office, and it's weapons time. We've both seen the film. I think maybe we won't dive into our reviews of it, but 43 million. So this, the only knock I could find is that it didn't hit 45 and get Warner Brothers 6 movies with 45 million and above in a row. So other than that, I mean, this. It did what I hoped. I've been talking about this film since CinemaCon, end of March, because they showed I think it was the first teaser. I think dropped. This is end of March, and I was like, this movie, and the whole setup was there with the kids running out. They kind of had that setup, and that was kind of it. And I'm like, this is either going to go here or here. It's kind of like when we're Chris and I slack on the weekend. Sometimes I'm putting out my weekend box office. It's like an M. Night movie almost, where you just like show up. We have this big hook, come hang, and have a story. So people showed up. I think that's the answer here, Chris.
It definitely is. And also, they seem to like it, right? Because, I mean, the cinema score was, I was expecting it to be a lot lower. Despite any thoughts of the movie, I was like, especially with a horror movie like this, and with a twist that we won't spoil, but like, it's not maybe what you were expecting, maybe not even like the fifth thing you're expecting. And so I was like, are people going to find this annoying or like it? But they have liked it. And I think that spells that it bodes really well for the rest of this month, when there's really not a lot of competition at all for it.
100%. Yeah, it was an A- cinema score, which, if you're putting this in the horror camp, is extremely high. I think Sinners was an A or A minus, and Jordan Peele movies are like the only other horror movies that kind of get this level. So if you're putting it there, that's very, very high. This, of course, from Zach Kreger, who did Barbarian. And this even ticked up a little further. The final numbers were at 43 million. So even got a little bit higher than they were even projecting for the Sunday. So not just screams word of mouth here, as we kind of look at, again, we have 3 weeks ahead. We got Nobody 2 coming up Friday. Then it's, Stealing Home, the Austin movie, kind of Labor Day. So it's pretty thin as nothing new, but certainly as last year we had the Alien movie, which is a big comp coming up. So we'll get into the box office comps in a little bit. But to your point, if this can hold, maybe down 30, 35 or something. I don't know. I mean, horror generally has a big dip second week and has that kind of big audience come out the first weekend. So I think the first thing, you're right, was what's the cinema score going to be? What's the reaction going to be? But just as equally as important now is, does this become that movie you have to go see, late summer, which I think Sixth Sense was a late summer movie. Not that I'm putting this on M. Night, but what I mean.
It was, right? Yeah, I think it was like August. It was
late July or early August or something.
Like early August. So, and it ended up being like kind of, you got to see the end. No disrespect to Weapons. I mean, this is not on the same level as Sixth Sense, I think, in terms of the ending, but I do think it could play like that right now, right? I guess for the next few weeks. I mean, there's nothing. The next thing, I guess, I saw it in the theater this weekend, Sean, in suburban New Jersey here. And one of the big trailers before it was The Conjuring Last Rites, which is also New Line, Warner Brothers, which is also Labor Day, I guess, right? Or right after Labor Day?
Week after Labor Day, yeah.
So I'm like, I guess this Weapons really has this market then kind of until then. So that's good, I would say.
We have a month of just one horror movie. What's going on, Hollywood? I mean, really. I'm doing a separate piece in the Wake Up. It's going to come out. I did a count. I think there's was it 23 horror movies this year? Like just studio pictures. Like it's nuts, the volume of horror films. And again, even more back to weapons here, they all haven't been doing that well. I mean, Final Destination, I mean, Warner's had them all. I mean, if you want to put sinners in horror, which I personally don't, some people do, but that Final Destination and this are the only three movies that have hit. Everything else has been in that kind of 10 million, which is not bad per se, but nothing out of the ordinary. So again, for a challenged genre, this isn't the year of Five Nights at Freddy's and Black Phone and things which were doing amazing numbers. And so all these factors just make, kudos to Zach and the New Line and WB marketing teams here. This is a tough campaign. This was not an easy sell. I mean, you have a big hook, but you can't get, you can only do so much here. I think they did a great job. Anything on the marketing campaign there?
I know, I totally agree. And especially with not a lot of movies. I mean, they're movie stars, but not, you know what I mean? Like, you're not like,
it's not like a Leo DiCaprio movie.
Right, exactly.
I mean, all due respect to James Brolin, and Garner, but yeah. And it's told, I mean, we can tell it's kind of Rashomon, the kind of perspective, but it's not a linear story. Like, so many different things about this as a marketer that's like, which was not in the marketing at all. Not that would be a big hook per se, but it is that kind of, there's a lot of challenges as a marketer. And I think that goes to, I've heard this from a few people, the younger generations that like, you just feel overly marketed to, like, it's like you're telling us everything to get us in the door and to hold stuff back. I think, again, show up to have the experience. Like, don't, give me everything. I don't know, this speaks to a lot of those things, Chris.
I think so too, absolutely. And especially with this, not like, I was thinking about it in terms of like Naked Gun, which I felt like a lot of the best jokes was in the marketing.
That's a tougher job too in a different realm.
You know what I mean? This one, it was like you said, like you get the premise to get you in the door, and that's it. And it's like a great hook, and there you go. So I was like, they did a great job with this, obviously, and it's been a great, like you write about this all, like, man, they've had just a real great run, Warner.
Couple movies shooting at Warner Brothers. Yeah,
I was thinking of this. I was thinking of this, like, so they obviously, like I said, like Conjuring coming up, but then like at the end of September, you have the PTA movie, which I feel like everybody's just ready to be like, if this is bad, we're going to tear it all down. But they've had so many hits in a row, well, that narrative still holds. You
can show up at the end of September. I mean, look, it may not work. We'll see. And, maybe it's great.
Exactly.
People have seen it. Not none of the circuit has kind of seen this movie yet. And I think that does half well. Like, if it isn't a complete, faceplant, which I don't know that it would be, but, it's going to be interesting to see how people dance around this, because this is what everyone was working on back in March. Like, they spent all this money on, and this Michael B. Jordan movie, and they have, and it's like, I said it, and didn't wake up in middle of March. I'm like, there's a scenario, and I painted it out, where you can have 5 or 6 bangers in a row here, and you all can just could be looking really stupid, and that's, lo and behold, what has actually happened. So I love it when
I can't wait to see how.
Face.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the response to that, because I feel like everybody's just going to pretend. I think I'll see a lot of heads buried in the sand if it does well, and if it flops, they'll like. And if it flops, it'll be like, oh, we told you so.
Yeah, exactly. There'll still be a bit of that, but that's a Monday morning quarterback for September. Yes. So we'll
future one.
There.
I just wanted to flag that now for future.
Yeah, but Conjuring, you're right. Conjuring, a big genre. So again, all should be. That's the movie in September, by the way, which is There again, we'll get to the comps in a minute. So let's continue on here on the list. We got another one. Pivot into Freakier Friday, going nostalgia, Lindsay Lohan. Which you knew this was a 1976 movie, right? Originally,
I am going to say I did not know. I never even seen the original Freaky Friday. I watched it over the weekend with my daughter because we were maybe going to see
the Jodie Foster movie.
No. I'm sorry. The remake, the first remake, remake from 2003. I'd never seen with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. I'd never seen that one either. And so I knew now, based on you writing this and talking about it, that it was a remake. But that one I didn't. I knew Parent Trap. That one I've seen the original of and the remake, but not Freaky Friday. But there you go.
Okay. All right. Well, this is the now. So there's also a musical remake in 2018, which I did not know of, Disney Channel. So literally, as of saying November this year, you have 4 Freaky Friday that you can watch on Disney Plus. Being on marathon, so God bless. Disney just keeps milking this one. But 29 million kind of on, par. There's a little bit hoping maybe get over 30 million. It didn't quite reach there, but for I don't know, for a quadrant, but a broad kind of just family-ish comedy you can bring a younger demographic to do 30 million bucks, 29 million bucks. Pretty good. I hope this again plays through August as well as a movie still end of summer vacation. Maybe you can go, again, bring your kid to go see. But it's heartening that this kind of movie can still work to a meaningful degree in the theatrical, realm, I think.
Definitely. And wasn't this what you would know this better than I would, but wasn't this also originally going to be a Disney Plus movie that they were like, actually, we'll put in theaters?
Yeah, I think that was an earlier talk. I think Gunn had this too, by the way, that this was also intended originally for streaming. But, again, these movies are maybe 2+ years back. So again, streaming strategies changed a bit since 2023 and 2025. So that may be the case. But yeah.
But and similar, like what, like there's not a lot, like who, like for this market, like there's no coming up. There's no movies for people who were be psyched for Freakier Friday or maybe didn't see it opening weekend. Like there's nothing really coming out now in the next few weeks, right? That would even be close to targeting the same audience. So I feel like it'll
have it to itself. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, and Fantastic Four, which we'll get to in a second, did not really deliver this audience and hasn't been. So yeah, I think this is again, if you're looking at that last bit of summer, parents may be on break now, looking to go to a movie with the family at a summer vacation thing, could be that kind of business. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, Nobody 2 is the next big, which is a Bob Odenkirk action. That's a different genre altogether. So again, not a lot of competition. So we'll see how this plays out. The first one made out to 100, or the second one, the first one that everybody else kind of knows about, the 2003 movie, legged out to 160 million global. We'll see if this gets to that. That'd be great. This is a $45 million budget on this one, so needs to get somewhere well over $100 million to kind of at least kind of break even ish. So we'll see how that goes. But I will note, and I don't have exact. And the international has been a conversation we've been having, Chris, about the coming up short. These two both had bigger U.S. totals again, and you could tell me a genre, you can tell me I don't know that that's necessarily true, but Weapons was 43 U.S. and so 70 million global, so 27 million global, so international. So that's pretty. I don't know how many, if it has more markets to come. Maybe they didn't go as wide with it. And then even Freakier Friday was 29, and international was basically 16 million, which is so again, like this international, maybe there's different vacation timings, whatever, et cetera. But just again, like for a business that international was like, you would do at least 2/3 or a little bit more, perhaps sometimes more 3/4 of your business overseas. And we will get down on the list to the F1 world where that's the case. We're seeing more and more a little bit of evidence of like, is there a problem here on the international stage? I don't, we'll see how it plays out, but just something to note, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll be curious to see, not to go back to like one battle after another, but like Leo obviously is such a great international draw.
Global superstar, yeah.
And I'm like, it'll be funny if it actually does better than we think it will in the US or North America, but then flounders overseas, which maybe would have been the opposite when they were planning this movie a couple of years ago or whatever. So, I mean, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, the Leo factor. I mean, movie stars still do matter as much as we can, and not, guys are now in their 50s and 60s, not the Chalamets of the world, whatever, which maybe they still do. But these kind of people who've been around for 30 years now, do mean more on the international stage. So we'll get that in F1 a little bit. But Fantastic Four just coming up short here. I mean, to a degree, I'm being, but for what it opened to, and it's going to do far less than Superman, which again, it opened at the same level, more or less, as Superman. This fell another 60% in weekend 3, which, look, weekend 2, I think was 66 or something like that. So again, which kind of happened. And then week 3, hopefully you kind of level out. And this, again, these two movies, Weapons, and thematically nothing in that genre that's like competing. You could say demo-wise, maybe there's some competition there, but you saw it, right?
Fantastic Four, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Nobody know really rating about this movie?
No.
I don't know.
It seems like you saying, like, families I think they really needed families to go to see it, and they're just not. And
just did not show up, yeah.
And like, even for Marvel, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it has broken through at all. And the reviews were fine, right? Like, I felt like when it came out, that
was my impression. That's why. But everybody who saw it, I mean, it's my own personal anecdotal, whatever, but you and a few other people I know were like, oh, it's fine,
it's fine,
whatever, like, but not like, oh my God, Marvel's back, or Marvel,
Right.
or you must go see this again. That buzz, anything out of the ordinary for a Marvel movie at this
Hmm.
point, I would
Yeah,
say.
and
But
that's I don't know. I mean, that's like it's definitely not ideal, I would imagine for Marvel. But and now there's not another Marvel movie, I guess, Disney wise till Avengers at
year and a half
Christmas,
from
right?
now,
Next,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
next year, yeah,
next
exactly.
year,
So you
Christmas of
have,
next year, right?
yeah, yeah. Now you have from Marvel, you have Spider-Man
Spider
end
Man.
of July. And then, so whole year, we have no superheroes at all until Supergirl, which is in June next year. So again, this genre of which in 2004 kind of was in a 2024 was in a timeout, more or less, outside of
Hmm.
Deadpool. That was the whole Iger coming in into 2023 and be like, after the Marvels, it was like, hey, we're on the deck here to get these movies in order. And what did we come back to? We came back to Captain America 4, Thunderbolts, and this all doing roughly 400 to $500 million.
Hmm.
That's it. So I don't know, again, call it the movies, call it whatever, but these aren't, the low tier franchise. Captain America, big franchise. It wasn't like these were, the Ant-Mans or the other kind of things that maybe don't do quite as well. Like, I think the data's, I don't know.
Yeah. The numbers are the numbers. I mean, like, I'm watching these movies. I've watched all, I'm sure you have too. I have seen all of these Marvel movies, right? Like
I've seen none
many.
of them. No, no, you
Oh,
wait a
you've
minute. You
never
want
seen any
to
of them.
talk?
I've seen all of them. So I'll say that. I remember, like,
Yes, no,
watching
please.
Fantastic Four. Watching Fantastic Four, I was like, didn't these used to be better? That was my big. I was
Really?
like,
Okay.
or have I just like gotten? Is it the same and like it's just not as much fun after 30 something movies? I don't know, but like that felt like to me, I was like, man, these used to be more fun for some reason for me as someone who watches these movies. So maybe that's
Right.
like the word of mouth then is like, yeah, it's fine, and then people aren't running out to see it beyond
Outside
that.
of that, people who are
Yeah.
just still good, yeah, and that level of people is about $500 million
Yes.
worldwide. But
Yes.
if you're making
Yes.
these for over $200 million and spending $100 million on marketing, it's like you're really not making any. Again, down the line,
Hmm.
down the windows will make
Yeah.
money, et cetera. They're not
Yeah.
terrible pieces of business, but they're nowhere near the business you were doing. Maybe you got to calibrate this, in terms
Hmm.
of your spend and so forth. Oh, we'll see. And Richard made the point last week when we were talking, it's like, all right, this is the last movie going to Avengers. Are people psyched about Marvel going into Avengers? Like the last Avengers, everybody was like, oh, it was kind of the culmination of all these movies you
Hmm.
loved and these storylines. And it's like, if you don't have a huge engaged audience going into Avengers, you're almost at a starting point, not at a wrapping up point. It's an interesting, I'm very curious to see what they do with it, but
And great. Good luck to the marketing team. I guess I mean, they'll have Robert Downey Jr., so I guess that'll
right,
help, right? But like, I don't know.
sure.
It is not. They're
It's not
not
like you're showing up to like see what
right.
happened. That's what I mean. Of like,
Correct. Yep.
all of these things you've built up and seen for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And
Like,
that
are
they
you
really have.
curious? Are you curious about anything at this
Not
point
as
going to
much.
Avengers?
I'll tell you that after Thunderbolts, not to get too after
No, line up.
Thunderbolts ends with like a throw to Fantastic Four, and I was like, I left Thunderbolts, and I was like, man, that's the first time I've been excited for one of these next movies in a long time. And then Fantastic Four, I was like, eh. And now, so I guess we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm not.
Right.
I'm just not. Like I said, they just feel like they just had more oomph, like in the earlier years, and now not as much. But you never
Yeah.
know. I mean, if it's good, like if Avengers
Right.
has a great trailer, and some people are going to run out and see it.
If you're one hit away from this turning
Yeah.
around, as any
Exactly.
franchise is, but if you're but it is interesting. You've gotten 3 more data points this year, all kind of really hitting
Mhm.
the same. I don't think Avengers is going to do 500 million. I think
No.
we'll do more than that. But it's, the bar is what, 2.7 and 2.2 billion, I think, with the other 2 Avengers movies. So again, not that it has to hit that. If it, only makes 1.5 billion, I think we'll be fine. But it is an interesting creative. We'll see what they have to pull out of their hat.
Yeah.
But it's also, it brought me back to DC, and I'm just going to mention this final point, move on from the superhero stuff. But in the way that Nolan came in, back to your point about these feeling kind of the same or not surprising, that maybe the storytelling just needs that kind of, like when Nolan came in with Batman, Return, like that was a fresh take on the genre. Like, it looked different, it felt different. These movies are, and again, you've seen them, so I don't want to speak for it, kind of are walking in, you're like, yeah, this feels kind of in the same vein of what I've seen before. Does it need that just, hey man, we're doing a whole different tone with these things? Or I don't know.
I kind of think yes, and like that used to be the Marvel thing, at least in the salad days, where it was like, oh, James Gunn doing Guardians, that was like different,
Right.
or
Yeah.
when Ryan
Right.
Coogler, Black Panther, like they had like tours or whatever you want to call them, doing like their takes on these superhero movies, and that was pretty cool because you had like, even though it was obviously like Feige like kind of probably very much having oversight on the production aspect of it or like what's happening, it still worked. It felt different enough. And now I don't feel that at all because a lot of the directors, no disrespect to these directors, they're not that level, right? So like, and Superman, James Gunn, like it worked. And we'll see how, Supergirl and Clayface sounds interesting. Next year, those maybe will be kind of cool. Maybe we'll see. I guess
we'll see. We'll see what he does. We'll see what direction he takes and what lessons he's learned, from elsewhere. But my final hot take on this, though, will be optimistic on this is that all the things you're talking about will bode well for Star Wars, which has been away. It's going to feel really fresh come 2027. I think theatrically, I know there's been Andor and other things like that, which have been kind of more, fans, super Star Wars fans, not casual people like me. But if that could be the fun, Ryan Gosling, kind of like Sean Levy, like four quadrant, like just reinvigorating this franchise after it's been away since 2019, it's the last theatrical outing there. I think, so I think all this kind of little malaise or quality one on Marvel can help Star Wars be like, no, we're back to now Star Wars is back. Let's go lean into this 5,000%.
100% agree with that. I actually 100% agree with that. And especially having Sean Levy's obviously with Deadpool and like his other, like he's like got four quadrant instincts that I think will do really well. And like, help that movie.
It's like, all right, this could be a real, a shot of energy to that franchise and not having a competing franchise that's hot. You'll have a see what Avengers comes before it, so in due respect, we'll see what happens. But there's Mandalorian and Grogu, of course, next summer as well, which could kind of prime that engine as well. But they're also releasing Star Wars in the theaters right before, 4 weeks before the Sean Levy movie. So again, getting that.
I'm also psyched for that because I don't know. My conspiracy theory about that re-release is that they're going to actually re-release the original, because obviously there's only the special editions, right?
So you think the crappier version, but like
the original version, because they did a screening of it at like BFI or something.
Yeah, the UK. Yeah,
and I was like, why are they doing this? I bet you that. I wonder if that will do it because I think that will do like really well as a re-release. Because then I would definitely go see it in the theater. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people would maybe want to go see the original Star Wars instead of the special editions. After
I think you show up and you're like, this is not that good. Like I think you maybe like I think they changed the line on that where they would like for people who are fans it would be that way, but doesn't get you psyched to watch the next one.
Maybe not.
Were they always this kind of, the
did it always look like this?
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah. And kind of, the grainy and whatever. Like, yeah. I think as a streaming event, I think for Disney Plus, I think that's a wise idea. Maybe they don't pull that theatrical lever there, Chris, as the audience, but I like where your head's at. So let's round out here. Bad Guys 2, pretty good, 53% down from opening weekend. The first one was only minus 32%, which I went back and looked at that number. Seems to be doing fine. I don't, it's an $80 million budget, so it's got to get to around $200 million to make any sense here. That's at $84 million globally right now after 2 weeks. Has the animation, contingent to itself in terms of the audience sector, at your point, end of summer kind of rounding out here, not much else for that. Maybe younger, demographic or different, maybe a little skewed, a little more male, I don't know, for the Freakier Friday contingent. But, fine. I don't know that this, again, it didn't show me that like, oh, this had a huge Peacock and Netflix life that is now manifesting. This is about what the first one did, maybe a little bit less than the first one.
Yeah. So I saw that one too. It was good. I thought it was fun, but like, yeah, I think having like I was thinking like, oh, would there be a streaming bump for it? But like, you could just watch the original on streaming, and there's like Netflix specials based on the bad guys that are on Netflix. Really? That I'm like, like little like shorter shorts or whatever. I was just like, I don't know. It's hard to get people out for it, though. It's interesting. I don't think has an animated movie this year gone over 100 million in North America because Ilio didn't. There's not really a lot this year, and this one maybe won't either.
I guess you're
because Lilo and Stitch is not like it was.
How to Train Your Dragon was animated, but it's not live action. So,
all those are the biggest hits, but like they're not animated.
Yeah, and anymore. Snow White was live action. And they're actually about to spread. Well, Dogman might have gotten close, but that's probably only about 100 million either. But yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Actually, might be. I kind of check that actually, but yeah,
kind of crazy.
Yeah, Dogman, your big your family animated.
Not great.
Hit of the year.
Also saw that pretty fine, but not great for the industry, I guess. Or animation
just
in
as a
general.
genre, that is the lifeblood. But again, it's the year of the live action adaptation, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Naked Gun buddy over there, 50%, pretty drop from opening weekend. Good number for that. You could have told me a worse story there. Some positive word of mouth on that. Not crazy, but you know, it's $56 million global at this point on a $42 million budget, so it needs to kind of get up a little more than that. Again, a little shorter on the another movie, a little short on the international. So 33 million US, and let's say so it's going to be about somewhere mid 20 millions in the international. So again, but again, US. That's another. It's like how many movies in a row here we got here that US is leading the way. That's pretty for the history of the recent box office. China excluded, which has been off the mark for a while, but even if you exclude that, pretty rare. So. It's interesting to know that, again.
It is. No, it is. Yeah. I mean,
to have that number of movies, it wasn't just one or two movies. This isn't just a one-off kind of thing.
No, it's the whole, honestly, like, right, most of the summer, outside of like maybe F1, right? Is that like the only one that we'll get to? But like all of these have just been, and Jurassic, but like all of these have kind of underperformed, which is,
curious, we'll see. Speaking of Superman, still chugging. I mean, doing great U.S. business, $331 million. Like that's a big win for them. But this movie is going to struggle against a 650. And again, their nationals coming up, pretty short by about a 10% margin. So, again, that one, and then we've talked about Richard. Is this the America brand problem, which you could totally sell me on? But there is this other weakness in other movies that have nothing to do with the America brand that are not doing well. So you can kind of, be your own judge on that one.
Where do you bring this back to? Was it like Twisters last summer kind of did the same thing? Or is that
funny, right? Yeah.
Like where it was like, oh, it underperformed elsewhere and it was such a big hit in the US, but not overseas. And remember last summer, it was like, oh, the market, it was, because wasn't it like a split distro, right? So it was like, did Warner Brothers have overseas?
Yeah, Warner Brothers and overseas,
And it was like, oh, is it a marketing? Right. But it wasn't. Maybe that was in hindsight. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
The problem is that Warner's is involved in a lot of these things. So, because also the next one was Beetlejuice, which also underperformed.
True.
And that was also Warner Brothers. It's like, is there a problem? But.
Right.
And this Superman is Warner Brothers as well.
Yeah, it's true.
Warner Brothers. So, like, it is just like, well, it's sort of hard to. And they made a change at the top of international, the executive change. He went over to Disney in January. So they made a change. This is, so again, we're 6 months post that change and we're not seeing much difference here. So,
interesting.
It's
interesting.
Something to note. But this one, meaning that this will probably, including the marketing money, will break even-ish. And again, we're back to that narrative of like these cash cows that were printing money, which we'll cover on a genre next that is printing money still, but are just gonna kind of make all their money back from production marketing spend, and then the windows throughout eternity will make money. So that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, how this model has changed from which are nothing new to say here, but from the 2010s where these things were printing money, even 2022 where they were too, where now that reality of like, all right, spending 225 million on these, you may not be making a theatrical profit, which is, kind of why in this business.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. But this is doing dramatically better than Man of Steel did again, not adjusted for inflation, and it's pretty close to the Batman, but the Batman did a lot better overseas. So that one will be bigger. But so a great solid performance, big win for James Gunn. I'm excited to see what's ahead,
And create, like I think Richard and you guys talked about, like creatively too, it helps because like people are now excited for these movies. So the next ones will have goodwill maybe going into them, and that'll help too.
Did what it needed to do, in that regard. Yeah. But then you do have Jurassic, which is doing, big, huge overseas money, so it's like, and this is Universal. So again, different distro system, call it what you will, but just pointing that out. 330 million US and 800 million global. So you're doing that's that traditional 2/3 ish that we're used to seeing. So it's still possible out there. It's not that it's gone away. Like, okay, you just point. So is it the movie? Is it whatever? So this movie kind of like throws a wrench in that narrative there. So I think there's something about maybe the creative here. I don't know. But kudos to Universal. I mean, they're going to get to about a little under 900 million on this, which is the last three did over $1 billion each. Some barely so, but so a little bit short. But I wouldn't read too much into that. This is still making immense amount of making that kind of dumb profit that you want these movies to make,
Yeah.
Chris.
And I do think that, I mean, this is my taste, so you could be just anecdotal or whatever, but I'm like, the last 3 Jurassic movies, I think the third Jurassic World was not the most successful creatively. So coming into Rebirth, I think maybe is that enough to account for like a slight dip? And if they do a sequel to Rebirth, would that the goodwill from this movie, which I think people really enjoyed mostly, right? Like maybe not critically, but people enjoyed it, I think.
Think
Like,
so? Yeah.
would that help the next one? Who knows? But it is
Well,
doing
we'll
really
find
well.
out in 2
We
years.
will.
Whatever.
Yes.
There'll be 2 more. Don't you worry, Chris. There will be. Universal's not throwing in the towel.
I don't think so. I think there'll be more done. They'll figure it out. There's other
They'll figure it out.
Rebirth.
Oh God, don't give any ideas. And then there's our F1 buddy, which again is doing over Tuesday. That's like almost 70% of that business is overseas and F1 global brand, et cetera, et cetera. But well, it's from Warner Brothers, but it's more of a distro deal, so you can kind of Apple's running the marketing on that. So, but again, so these bigger international splits are still possible. So it's hard to say that business is gone. And MI8 was also the same way. So I'm going to tie this back. Rest assured, to have a little bit of something like this to end it out. But what do these movies have in common that are doing well overseas? All right, you have Tom Cruise, you got Brad Pitt, and you got dinosaurs, which you've known for 30 years. It's IP that has existed globally for a long, long time. Superman, as you know, no one knows that starts. I mean, no, Superman, obviously. These other newer movies or newer thing, it's not that kind of a relationship. All has its own just issues, to a side there that why that might be the case. But there is this level, I think, of again old quote unquote old movie stars, and back to the Leo DiCaprio thing, where you can paint a narrative for me where maybe it doesn't do gangbusters here, but Leo still matters to a lot of people globally. And look at his track record. It's like it's really hard to bet against him. I get it. I understand the wariness about this movie, but you just look at that record, man, and it's like the movies just got there eventually. Different times at the box office, granted, but
it's so rare he has a miss, really. Like on and not to jinx it, but I'm like,
I know, exactly.
It's like,
right.
Holy cow! Yeah. Like J. Edgar, what was the last one that he had that didn't like really?
God,
hit?
you're probably right. I mean, I'd have to go back.
I'd have to go back and look, but I'm like off the top of my head, it's like
and that
is
movie
so
probably
consistent.
still did 200 million or something. Like if you're saying whatever it might be, like they missed that, whatever it was back in the 2000s. But that was a Clint Eastwood one too. So we'll see what that's going to be. That'll be the next test, I think, of this kind of next narrative.
Definitely.
Not much else coming up. Find out they're together, still doing pretty well. 62 million, 62% drop opening weekend. That 17 million. It's a tale of two stories here, Chris. It's like 17 million US in 2 weeks for Dave Franco, Alison Brie, horror, romance. I don't know. It's a pure horror movie, I guess, right?
I think so.
Yeah. From Neon, but they paid $17 million for it at Sundance. So it's like, all right, which side of the coin you want to look at this as? Is an indie horror movie doing nearly 20 million in 2 weeks? Pretty good. But is it going to get to anywhere near the level that Neon might want this to be at to justify that cost? But it hasn't really rolled out internationally. I don't know that I'll have a lot of business there to begin with. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe they'll sell some territories. But so I think it's a win, but with a but.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, so the round out here, I alluded to it earlier. But in the box office, we're coming up against tough comps, and I think everybody kind of started to forget the summer. Last summer was like, it was choppy, the strikes and all of those things were going on. But the last summer caught some action late. We got Deadpool, it ends with us, and then you have the Alien movie coming in this week. This weekend last year. This summer is going to be flat. When we're talking here, when Richard gets back Labor Day weekend, and we're talking about this, unless Austin Butler casts some magic spell with his movie with Aronofsky there at the end of Labor Day. That's the Labor Day weekend movie, or Nobody 2 who performs to. If that can do 40 million this weekend, that'd be great. I don't think that's the tracking on that movie. So again, for this summer, last summer, remember, but it was a disaster. Oh my God, it was, we had 2 movies, Inside Out and Deadpool. And it's like, but you know what? This summer, there's a lot of mid hits. This is a summer of mid, as I'm kind of really looking at this, because it's like you have Lilo doing $1 billion, the only film to do $1 billion this summer globally. You've got Jurassic, it's going to be about 900 million. And then you have about 3 or 4 movies doing about 600 million globally. And F1, MI8, Superman will be a little more than that, that's not a summer to really remember here. I mean, it's now maybe more balanced, but that's the only positive I can really get to.
Maybe. I mean, like, it just didn't. Nothing really.
Try, Chris. Come on.
I know you are. I feel like you and Richard talk. Nothing really outside of Lilo. Nothing broke out. Like, none of these are like, none of these are breakouts. And
phenomenons. Yeah.
None of them are phenomenons. And like looking at the rest of the year, I'm like September and October.
Well, September is, man, like that's what I said. You're going up against Beetlejuice, which you did, I think. I mean, it was close to 300 million US. I don't know what the final number was, but that was huge. This September, you have The Conjuring is the big movie, and the Leo movie is the last movie of the month. Well, I don't think that it's going to do Beetlejuice 300 million domestic. And then you have a couple of other Downton Abbey, which and things that will probably do fine on their own accords. But if you're going again, box office to box office, September is going to, essentially going to have, because the year right now total was now down to +8% for 2025 total.
Okay.
And we're going into, again, by end of summer, that's probably +5, and it's +15% a few weeks ago. Again, this is the Deadpool factor. Deadpool had been $600 million domestic. So it's like, all right, that's a big thing comp to go against, but it is what it is. So if we have a crappy September, you're talking to me like we're back to basically flat on 2024, which was a strike effective, not great year to begin with.
And you're hoping, I guess, that like October, I'm off the top of my head, I'm like, October's got like Tron Ares.
Yeah, Tron's in there. You have I think the Black Phone's in there.
Right. And then obviously November you'll have like Wicked and then Avatar.
I think end of year will be up
strong. Right.
End of year, and we have Avatar, so clearly that, and Wicked too, which I think will do as well as the first one did, if not better. So there's that. You got Tron, you've got Black Phone 2, and Mortal Kombat 2, which you have a Colin Hoover movie, Regretting You, coming in there as well. More to the end of the month. So October I think will be up, and then I think November is going to be. I think it'll be picking up because you also have Zootopia 2, which I think will be a bigger
that'll be
event
big.
too.
Yeah,
so I think Q4 will be up on the year, but again for like. 25 wasn't the savior that I think everybody was like, 25 is going to be great, man. Just wait until
26 now, Sean. Worry about 26 is going to be the year.
Don't worry about it. I'm doing a piece on that next week. So yes, I'll break that down for all the experts, which actually does look a little bit better because we actually have a Q1 next year, and that's the big problem of all these numbers they're talking about. Because 2025 Q1 was as bad as 24 for reasons that are beyond me. So anyway. We'll keep an eye on our big numbers down every weekend. And the wake up, of course, now we go in our little slumber. I mean, look, nobody did huge, very big business on PVOD last year, 2 years ago, I guess. So there was this kind of afterlife for that movie. I'm curious to see if it manifests in the numbers, but it wasn't like that movie just kind of, it's not nothing, but again, it's not going to do the 40 million you needed to do, but it could be a decent, at least summer action, what else?
I mean, there's, for that audience, there's not a lot there, but I'm also like, I don't know. I feel like it kind of snuck up on me. Do you feel like, I'm just like, it just felt like it was not.
Yes, it gets here. Yeah, I don't know that. It's tough to sell a movie in mid-August.
I think so. I think that's really it. Yeah, I think that's
some of our colleagues who didn't even know Weapons was coming out this weekend. So, it's very...
True. If you're not in the demo, it's maybe
I the beholder, exactly. There's not a lot of sports to advertise in front of for that mail demo or things like that this time of year too, which can be
that's fair.
So
that's fair.
But Chris, that's Universal's problem. So we'll leave it there this week. They can figure that one out. We'll be back next Monday as always. Thanks everybody for coming to hang this week. If you missed any of the conversation, this video goes up afterwards so you can catch the top part. If you missed the Weapons conversation, we'll have that. But good, happy to have this result, Chris, from Weapons. Word of mouth seems great. Again, I have different opinions on the movie, but we'll leave that to our Slack conversations. But the worst cops in the history of anyway, I'll leave it to the side. I'll leave my point there. All right, we're going to have a phenomenon. Happy to have a horror hit here, and good old New Line. Look at that. Final Destination.
It's great.
2 hits in the summer for my old home, New Line Cinema, back when I was an intern in this business. So happy to have New Line back in the headlines, and just praying we get a comedy from them at some point. It'll be fun with a different part of town.
That'd be good.
We'll leave that for a conversation for a different time. But anyway. Chris, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Thanks
Of
everybody
course,
for
good
hanging
seeing you,
out.
Sean.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.